It was supposed to be a weekend of freedom, friends, and memories before senior year pressure kicked in. For college students, Maya, Josh, Erica, and Luis set out on a spontaneous road trip across state lines. Their car packed with snacks, sleeping bags, and barely any plans. They texted their families they'd be back by Monday. But Monday came and went, and not one of them returned. Calls went unanswered. Social media went silent. By Tuesday, panic set in. Authorities launched a search, the student's last known location was a gas station on the edge of a small desert town. After that, nothing. No traffic cams, no credit card activity, no vehicle sightings. It was as if they vanished into thin air. For weeks, friends organized search parties while investigators followed dead-end leads. Rumors spread: online abductions, cults, even theories of the group faking their disappearance. But none of it stuck then. 4 months later, a cargo ship docked at a port hundreds of miles away. During a routine inspection, a customs officer noticed something strange about one of the containers. It wasn't on the manifest, and it didn't match the listed cargo. Inside, officers made a discovery that shocked even the most seasoned investigators. What they found didn't just reopen the case, flipped it entirely. And the contents inside that container raised more questions than answers. What really happened to those students? And why was this container sealed from the inside? What came next would leave everyone stunned. The container was large, weathered, and completely unmarked, teched for a single, dented corner and a faded sticker from a trucking company that had gone out of business years ago. When authorities pried it open, the first thing they noticed was the stale, suffocating heat. Inside were 4 sleeping bags, a cooler with empty water bottles, and a set of college textbooks scattered across the metal floor. In one corner, a phone was duct-taped to the wall, its screen cracked but still glowing faintly. On it was a single unfinished video, file time-stamped just 2 days earlier. The video showed Maya, pale and exhausted, whispering into the camera. She was clearly afraid, but trying to stay calm. She said they had been moved in the middle of the night, that their captors didn't speak much but seemed organized. She didn't know where they were or how much time had passed. Her voice trembled as she ended the message with, "If anyone finds this, tell our families we didn't stop looking for a way out." But that was it. The video cut off and the phone died seconds later. Strangely, there was no sign of the students themselves, just their belongings and that haunting footage. There were no fingerprints, no surveillance footage at the port, and no official record of how the container got there. It was like someone had gone to great lengths to erase the trail. Investigators were left with a chilling realization. Someone had gone through great effort to make sure these 4 stayed missing. As investigators dug deeper, the mystery only grew stranger. The shipping container had no origin tag, no registered departure point, and the tracking number etched into its frame led to a warehouse that had burned down 6 years earlier. It was almost like the entire trail had been scrubbed clean. Families of the missing students were desperate for answers. Maya's mom, Ellen, became the most vocal. She organized a press conference demanding federal attention, but still nothing concrete surfaced. Meanwhile, a freelance journalist named Theo, who had covered similar cold cases, reached out to Ellen privately. He claimed to have followed a pattern: young travelers vanishing during remote road trips, always in groups, always with at least one piece of digital evidence left behind. Theo showed Ellen old case files from 3 different states. In each one, the missing were found months later, or their belongings were. But in every case, the final message hinted at something watching them, something planned. One of Theo's sources, a retired dock worker, recalled seeing the same container markings years ago just once. He said it came in, unregistered, was Left for a day and then moved without paperwork. When asked who picked it up, he only said, "Not someone I'd question twice." The student's car still hadn't been found, not even a tire. No signal pings, no roadside cameras. Theo believed it was more than abduction. It felt like an experiment. And somewhere, someone was still watching. And waiting, Theo kept pushing, even as officials warned him to stop digging. He traveled to the port himself, interviewing workers off the record. One man, who refused to be named, claimed he'd seen that same container moved in the dead of night. No security escort, no paperwork, and no explanation. It had arrived on an unmarked truck with blacked-out plates and was offloaded without any port clearance. "We were told to look the other way," the man said. "That's not something regular crews do." Meanwhile, Ellen received a package at her doorstep with no return address. Inside was a USB drive. On it were a series of short video clips, shaky, dimly lit footage that looked like it was taken from inside the container. The last clip was different. It showed the students live. They were huddled together, whispering urgently, scribbling something on the wall behind them with what looked like chalk or a broken rock. Just before the video cut off, a low mechanical hum filled the container, and the camera lens flickered. When Theo enhanced a frame from the final clip, he noticed numbers scrawled on the metal wall coordinates. He and Ellen followed them to a secluded wooded area 3 hours outside the city. There, buried beneath layers of dead leaves and dirt, they found what looked like a hidden hatch sealed tight. It's covered in rust and surrounded by old electrical wiring. As Theo examined the hinges, Ellen spotted something stuck to the side. Maya's bracelet, the one she never took off. Still clasped, still intact. Theo and Ellen stood frozen. Maya's bracelet wasn't just a memory, was proof she had been there. Theo took out a crowbar and pried at the edges of the rusted hatch until it creaked open. A gust of cold, chemical-smelling air rushed out, followed by a metallic echo that didn't feel natural. Below them was a narrow steel staircase leading into complete darkness. The walls of the shaft were lined with wires, some active, some frayed and sparking slightly. Someone had built this not recently, but not that long ago either. They carefully descended into the structure, phones in hand, lights trembling. At the bottom was a dimly lit corridor, almost bunker-like, with strange markings along the concrete. What caught their attention was a row of metal doors, each with a number painted in red. The door marked 4 was slightly ajar. Inside that room, they found more sleeping bags, similar to the ones from the shipping container. But what shocked them most was the bulletin board on the far wall covered in photos. Not just of the missing students, but of others. Dozens of them, kids, adults, couples. Dates scribbled beneath each one. Patterns, timelines. Some had red X's drawn through their faces. Others were circled. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A distant sound, footsteps, echoed through the tunnel. Theo motioned to stay quiet. Then Ellen's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Asterisk, you weren't supposed to come here. Attached was a live image of them, underground, taken just seconds ago. From inside the room, Theo spun around, scanning the ceiling for hidden cameras, his heartbeat thudding in his ears. Ellen clutched her phone, her fingers trembling. They had come too far to run now. He stepped toward the wall and yanked open a metal panel near the board. Inside was a network of wires and a row of blinking lights, clearly still powered. Just below it, tucked into a narrow shelf, was a stack of hard drives labeled with dates and names, including all 4 students. Suddenly, a low buzz echoed through the hallway. One of the numbered doors down the corridor slid open with a mechanical hiss. Footsteps approached, slow, deliberate. Then, from the shadows, a girl stepped forward. Dirt-streaked, thin, but unmistakably Maya. Ellen's breath caught. "Maya?" she whispered. The girl blinked, confused, like she hadn't seen sunlight in months. "Mom," before they could run to her, a distorted voice came over the intercom. "You've taken what we need. That ends this cycle." And then blackout. Emergency lights flickered to life just enough for Theo to grab Maya and pull both of them toward the hatch. Ellen followed, slamming the panels shut behind them, just as the corridor filled with a deep rumble. Moments later, the structure behind them collapsed inward. No explosion, just a silent implosion, like it had erased itself. Back on the surface, Maya clung to her mother. But Theo noticed something strange in her eyes, like she wasn't just scared. She was remembering something she hadn't lived, as if someone else's memory had been placed there in the days that followed. Maya was taken to a nearby hospital. She was malnourished but stable. Doctors said she seemed physically fine, but emotionally disconnected. She remembered fragments of time underground, repeated routines, and voices that didn't belong to anyone she knew. Authorities launched a new investigation, but the hidden facility had vanished. Just an empty forest floor and disturbed earth remained. No trace of Theo and Ellen's findings, no proof of the technology, the photos, or the hard drives. All that was left was Maya and her memories. Theo published a detailed report of everything they experienced. Most dismissed it as a conspiracy theory. Others called it a hoax. But a small number of readers reached out with similar stories missing. People, unexplained reappearances, and containers showing up where they shouldn't.